take to the air one final time. Be there to hear where they go and what they say on this final edition of Sports on the Fly. Prepare for takeoff in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And there we go, sir. The intro
I liked it.
to the final episode of Sports on the Fly.
Wow, that was something else. I like that.
Yeah?
Who did the countdown voice? Who was that?
Oh, I got that off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could make that happen?
No, I don't know how to count.
Fair enough.
So-
heck of an intro though, Sax. Thanks for putting that together.
So, countdown in 3, 7, 9, 6, 14.
And here we go.
And there we go.
And here we go.
Yeah.
We're off. We're on the fly. We'll do our goodbyes later. We'll do because we don't want to, but we'll start with some sports. Let's talk some sports for the last time.
Yeah.
Let's get it in. I mean, we can start wherever you want. We can start on the diamond. We can start on the hardwood. Start on the ice. Wherever you want to go, brother. You tell me. Take the reins.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go hardwood.
All right.
Because I know you prefer diamond and ice.
Uh-huh.
So we'll build up for you.
All right. Sounds good.
So we're starting off on the hardwood. 4 semifinal series in the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm.
All of them tied at 1. Great matchups. Should be a very exciting weekend of Game 3 and Game 4 for the series to see, who's going to take advantage of the series.
Right.
And I think that really it's pretty interesting because you look at the different teams and how they go. You see the Cavs and Bulls is a toss-up with Kevin Love not
Kevin
there.
Love out. Yep.
A lot of people are looking at the Bulls to pull off the upset. I know.
Yeah, it's
Big
their
Shot-
series to lose.
Yeah, since they took one in Cleveland, now they have home court.
Yeah, exactly. And the series doesn't begin until you lose a game at home, right? So, Cleveland's got their work cut out for them going up against this Chicago team right now. I mean, Derrick Rose playing real well. Mr. Butler also playing real well. Somebody that is going to be a difference maker in the series. But then you got to remember there's no Kevin Love, and that's a huge loss for the Cavaliers. And without him, it's going to be real difficult, especially now going on the road tied at 1.
And a big thing for the Bulls is their size down low.
Yeah.
Because you have Joakim Noah, you have Pau Gasol, and now the Cavs without Kevin Love really don't have anybody inside.
Yeah, it's actually if you can compare it at all to an Iona basketball team, I think that would make sense because obviously Iona's not the size team. They don't play that game. They play the long-range shot game. And obviously Cleveland's not just chuck up threes and see what happens as opposed to Iona basketball. But they are depleted size-wise inside, so they're going to have to utilize that outside shot if they're going to win the series.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and they're going to have to rely on their stars. And when you come playoff time, really, all the teams have to do that. But Cleveland in particular, and we see that with LeBron every time he's in Cleveland. But now the thing is, it's not just LeBron. He does have Kyrie.
Right.
And they've been the dynamic duo of the year, I'd say. Maybe outside of the Smash Brothers out in Golden State. But, they've done a sensational job carrying the team because even when Kevin Love was playing, he didn't live up to
he didn't even
Kevin
like it.
Love.
And it was always kind of interesting to wonder what would happen if the big three was minus Kevin Love. What would happen in Cleveland if Kevin Love never even showed up because he didn't seem to click. His personality doesn't seem to click in Cleveland. He doesn't seem to get along with the guys, doesn't seem to know what his role is on that team. But he was starting to work into that, and you saw that moving up to the playoffs where they were the best team in the league for a long time running. Obviously, it's a huge loss for them. But, I mean, Kyrie and LeBron is not a laughing matter. That's a duo that could make something happen, big time.
Oh, absolutely. And without a doubt, I give the winner of this series the Eastern Conference Championship.
Yeah, what's the Hawks?
Hawks and Wizards.
Hawks, Wizards, and I would assume the Hawks would come out of there.
The Hawks should.
They had a tough time with the Nets, those Hawks.
I thought the Wizards were very capable of pulling off the upset, but now with the injury to John Wall.
John Wall out.
It makes you wonder a little bit, but I actually still like the Wizards a little bit in that series.
Really?
I think the way that they took it to the Toronto Raptors in the first round was sensational. I thought that was going to be, without a doubt, the best series in the Eastern Conference in the first round, and they just mauled them.
Yeah, they did. But what also is makes you think once or twice about the Wizards maybe coming away with the win in that series is the idea that the Brooklyn Nets, who are not a very good basketball team, were able to bring Atlanta to 6 as the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So that's not something that you expected to see. That's not something that you anticipated out of the East at all, was Brooklyn even taking it past 5. But they got it to 6 before they went down. But either way, I mean, Atlanta's struggled recently over the course of the second half of the year and then the beginning of the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Washington maybe steal it. But I still have Atlanta matching up with Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then Cleveland going to the championship.
Well, I'm actually sticking with Washington. I think that they gained that playoff experience from last year, when they won their first round series, beating the Bulls there, then moving on, playing the Pacers, taking the Pacers to the brink, something I did not see happening at all. I think they gained so much experience from there. And really, the Hawks, they don't have that experience. Yes, they have experience from a few years ago, but that's a few years ago. That was a different team. They had Joe Johnson there.
Gosh, when's the last time you've seen a team drop off as much as the Pacers, huh?
Ooh.
I mean, wow, what a fall from grace.
Well, and the sad thing is, in the Eastern Conference,
they still almost
they were in playoff contention until the final day of the regular season.
Yeah, and that's a team that had no business being anywhere near playoff contention.
Right, that gives you an idea of how weak the Eastern Conference is outside of the top four or so teams.
Which is, again, another reason why that Atlanta, the struggles of Atlanta in round 1 were so disconcerting because, I mean, wow. How do you end up going to 6 with the Nets? I mean, they're an awful team.
Right. The Nets certainly did not belong in the playoffs.
Right.
They had to get in because 8 teams have to get in, but they should not have sniffed the playoffs this year.
And it's quite the opposite you mentioned early on. I mean, round 1 was as basketball ever is in round 1. It's 4-0, 4-1. Sweeps, 5 games, maybe 6 if you need it, and then that 1 7-game series or 2 7-game series. But in the NHL, you saw round 1 be, as tight as it can get. A lot of 6-game series, a lot of 7-game series, and then you look at round 2, and in the NBA, you've got they're all at 1-1 going to game 3, and in the NHL, you've got Chicago that just swept Minnesota. Anaheim's up 2-1. The Rangers are down 3-1, and the Lightning are up 3-1 too. So I don't know what happened, but it seems like they switched roles in round number 2, where the series in the NBA have gotten tighter, and the series in the NHL have actually loosened up.
I kind of feel like that happened some last year too, in that the same pattern with both leagues, and then when it came to conference finals time, that's when they were both finally both intense series, and that's what made it so fun.
Yeah. So for me, I've got Atlanta, and I've got Cleveland in the East, and in the West. Oh, geez, the West is so difficult. I mean, Golden State is so hard to pick against, but LA, I love LA so much. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
And then you have to watch out for Memphis. Memphis is the team
they're a fun team to watch.
That nobody likes to pick.
Yeah.
But they're always there.
Yeah, they're a fun team to watch. And they always work. That's what's fun about them. They're a blue-collar team. They put in 110 every game.
And that's why they're competing, and that's why a few years ago, that's why they knocked off the Spurs when the Spurs were the 1 seed and they were the lowly 8 seed. But I think you have to look at Golden State there. I think they've come too far this year to not at least get to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Now, over in the other series, the Clippers winning Game 1 without Chris Paul,
right,
in Houston,
allows them to rest him.
winning Game 1 in Houston without Chris Paul, 2 days after edging the Spurs in Game 7.
Yep.
That was probably the most impressive performance of the playoffs so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, other than that Game 7, which I think still is number one on my list of impressive performances, but I mean, other than that's definitely a close number 2 for me. But either way, I mean, the Clippers are going to be hard to beat. If they can get the production out of Blake Griffin that they've been getting for the last 4 games, ever since Game 5 in the first round, he's really turned. I think he's got 3 straight double-doubles. He is playing incredibly well, and he needs to be that guy. He needs to be that go-to inside guy for LA if they are going to beat Golden State in the Western Conference Finals.
Right. Well, that's what we've seen from the Clippers in the past. That they put together a good regular season, and then in the playoffs, it's just not there.
Right.
For some element, it's just not there. But if they can get Chris Paul back to relatively healthy, and if Blake Griffin continues at his clip, I think we're finally going to see the Clippers that we've been waiting for a few years. Because when they assembled Paul, when they assembled Griffin, when they got Doc Rivers, it looked like they were finally going to put the Lakers to bed, and they were going to be the team in LA.
Right.
And then there was the whole Donald Sterling thing, and just nothing clicking for them. But now that they have it,
right,
and if they can hold it, catch the lightning in a bottle, then they're as dangerous as.
And as we saw the other night, Golden State is not immortal. They can lose. I mean, if you go cold shooting, you're going to lose. And I hate to keep bringing it back to Iona basketball, but we saw that in the finals. When you don't shoot the basketball well, you're going to lose. And that happens sometimes. I mean, you can be the best three-point shooter in the world, but sometimes you're not going to hit your shots. Sometimes you're going to miss. Sometimes you're going to come up empty, and we saw that in Game 2 with Golden State. And so I think if you're LA, you're able to capture that. If you're able to force them to take bad shots, you're able to force them to play your game. I think that's a series that LA can win. And I know we're skipping the second round, and we're just assuming that LA and Golden State are going to move on. But I think that's a fair assumption.
Well, I don't know. I actually kind of like Houston.
Really?
I think that the Rockets, the way James Harden
he's hard to beat,
has blossomed this year is sensational. I mean, the way he's grown from that sixth man role with the Thunder when they went to the finals into now one of the top
best,
five players in the league is outstanding. You put that together with Dwight Howard, who has playoff experience from Orlando.
Yep.
I know it.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Several years ago, but still.
How far did they go? They went to the finals, right?
They went to the finals in 2009.
Jeez.
Knocked off LeBron in Cleveland.
Yep.
In the Eastern Conference.
In seven, right? In Cleveland, I believe.
Either 6 or 7.
But they did win it in Cleveland, I want to say.
Right. And then they went to the finals, lost to the Lakers.
Yep.
But still going to the finals, having that finals experience.
Yeah, that was when Dwight Howard was originally shown off to the Lakers. That's when they thought that was going to be it, the next stop in Dwight Howard's life, which it ended up being, and now he's in Houston.
Right. And they thought, it worked out well with Shaq going from Orlando to L.A., teaming up with Kobe.
Might as well.
It's going to be sensational. They're going to get another three-peat. And then that happened.
Bad.
Yeah.
Just real bad.
We don't talk about that. But
let's not.
But now Dwight Howard's in Houston, killing it with James Harden.
Yep.
And, Dwight Howard is showing up in the playoffs somewhat similarly to the way that Blake Griffin is finally showing up in the playoffs. It looks like Dwight Howard is finally comfortable.
Yeah, he looks happy. He looks like he's found his role. It looks like he's found his spot. Weird that it's in Houston. But you know what? Whatever floats your boat, Dwight. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, so just seeing the way that Houston, even though they did drop that Game 1, they responded in Game 2.
Yeah.
And I like Houston to go to the finals, and I think they beat Golden State.
I have the Clippers beating Golden State. So the winner we have of this series, regardless of who it may be, we have defeating Golden State.
Right, and then
losing to Cleveland in the final.
Without
Kevin Love, though, I'm actually going to pick the Western Conference winner.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to pick Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, so am I.
Very tempted. But I have to.
We got to see what happens.
Right. Absolutely. With all these series, we have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But actually, I can't go back on my Cleveland pick. I had Cleveland going to the finals from the beginning of the year, day one.
Right.
I said the Eastern Conference is so weak, they're going to the finals. And the loss of Kevin Love, I don't think is going to.
I mean, it changes a lot of things. I mean, you're not allowed to change because you're a man of conviction. But if you're using your brain at all, I mean, you've got to pick against Cleveland at some point in these playoffs. I mean, they're just not healthy. They're just not ready to go. And as much as you can rely on somebody like LeBron James to carry you from the bottom to the top, right? You can't the whole way through. And with teams like Golden State, teams like LA on the other side of things, I don't know if LeBron's got the juice.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see something that we've seen a few times from LeBron, carrying the team through the East, and then he can't do that against
right.
the Western Conference team. And so that's certainly something that they have to watch out for. But first, they have to get there.
Yes, and they got to beat Chicago first, and then they got to beat the Hawks or the Wizards. So it's a long road if they're even going to think about it.
Right, but I do think Cleveland gets there, and I'm actually going with Houston to meet up with Cleveland there. Sticking with Texas, my original prediction from the beginning of the year was Cavs-Spurs. So
you stay in state.
Staying in the Longhorns.
All right, well, there you have it. Let's take a break. We come back, we'll do some Diamond talk. Ken Reichman and Sax Sports on the fly on WICR.
ICR.